Just like that, we back again. If you new to the channel, subscribe before you do anything, before you comment, before you even share it. I need you to subscribe. 76% of y'all is not subscribed to the channel. And to further ado, let's get to it. Yeah.
I started this shit brick by brick. It's my shit. Ownership over all these motherfuckers.
1, 2, 3, 4. All right. I got another reaction for y'all. Spongebob terrifying hook episode. I remember this episode. It was probably one of the most terrifying one, but it wasn't too terrifying. It wasn't as terrifying as the Gary one. You know what I'm talking about. It's not one, but
this is the SpongeBob hook, probably one of the most terrifying things in Bikini Bottom. The hook is introduced in the episode Hooky, which starts with some fishermen fishing above Bikini Bottom, and they look very goofy. Then Mr. Krabs comes busting to the Krusty Krab, screaming,
"They're back, I tell you, they're back. I saw them with my own eyes."
And everyone in the Krusty Krab looks at him like he's a crazy, stupid old man. Mr. Krab literally goes up to a customer, screaming in his ears about
the hooks.
And he even tries telling Squidward, but he doesn't believe him either, and puts a bucket on his head to get away from the conversation. But he hasn't told one person yet, gullible old SpongeBob SquarePants. So he tells him about the hooks, and he is already starting to freak out. And then in the example of what the hooks do, he gives this random fish the world's worst wedgie I've ever seen. Look at this dude, bro. His eyes are about to pop out of his head, and he literally swallows his drink somehow. I don't know how. Anyways, he tells him about how when the hook gets you, you get cooked, and they eat you or put you in a gift shop.
See,
of course, this makes
SpongeBob when it was at his peak. When SpongeBob was at his peak, nothing made sense, and it was just absurd. It was iconic. The irony, it was just funny as hell. Especially Patrick. Patrick is one of the most underrated, dumbest, funniest niggas of all time in the Bikini Bottom, bro. I promise you. Except for Squidward funny, but SpongeBob funny, bro. No. Patrick funny is so different.
SpongeBob start freaking out. I want you to remember how everyone kind of makes Mr. Krabs look cuckoo and delusional, because it's going to be pretty important. So anyways, SpongeBob goes back to work, and here comes Patrick popping his head through the window. And you already know something bad's going to happen when this guy shows up. So he tells SpongeBob the carnival is in town, and ends up manipulating him to leave his job. And then they arrive at the carnival. And this ain't no normal carnival, it's literally just some hooks. And even Patrick says there was some kid there earlier, and now he's gone. So you know what that means. He being cooked up right now and served on a dinner plate in Red Lobster. And then SpongeBob, after walking and looking at all these hooks, smacks one with his head, and now somehow notices this ain't no carnival. These are the hooks Mr. Krabs was talking about. He tries to warn Patrick about the hooks, and this dude just sticks one straight up his butt. What the? And then he explains how since there's free cheese, it can't be that dangerous. Which I'm sure most fish think when seeing bait for real. But still, this guy is tripping. Literally sticking these things straight up in his mouth. And at this point, SpongeBob is staying strong. He's following Mr. Krabs' warning, and Patrick is still trying to show him it's not that dangerous by having 9 hooks in his mouth. And SpongeBob is still being smart and is still freaked out and scared of the hooks. And then Patrick finally has one of the hooks take him up. And it seems like he's about to die.
Patrick is so stupid, dog. I promise you, dog. Patrick is so stupid.
Be cooked, put in a gift shop. And SpongeBob even starts running around.
Patrick's gonna die, no help!
But then he floats down, all happy, and this is pretty much all it took to convince SpongeBob these hooks are fun and not dangerous, which is honestly pretty crazy. I mean, Mr. Krabs practically just told him he could literally die. And to be honest, for a kid's show, this is showing such a real issue. The art of peer pressuring someone. Patrick is having fun and peer pressuring SpongeBob like crazy, so he gets jealous and wants to have fun too. I know it might not make sense right now, but these hooks are symbolizing drugs. Trust me, it will make sense soon, just wait. Anyways, he hops up on one of the hooks with Patrick, and they start laughing and having a good time, and we see these fishermen reeling them in, and they jump off just in time before hitting the surface. And the fishermen are bummed out. Poor fishermen. So we go back to the Krusty Krab and see some fish complaining about the Krabby Patties being bad. And one dude literally has a deep fried boot for a patty. And this is because Squidward is trying to pick up SpongeBob's slack, and he's sucking pretty bad. Literally has a full grill of burnt patties. So Mr. Krabs comes to investigate what's going on, and Squidward tells him that SpongeBob's on a break, and he loses it. Literally, he loses all his body parts. And so he goes to search for SpongeBob, leaving Squidward with all of these angry customers. Poor Squidward, always getting tortured. So Mr. Krabs, with his insane tracking nose, gets to the hooks and sees SpongeBob and Patrick latch onto a hook, and he starts freaking out, trying to stop him, but he's too late. And we hear the sad violin, and Mr. Krabs thinks that they died.
I wasn't quick enough, me boy.
But they surprise him and get back to the ground. and he scolds them because he literally just warned SpongeBob about the hooks and he's doing the hooks. And then he tells them about another scenario if they don't come back down. I guess they get vacuum packed into a can of tuna, which is weird. I don't really understand that, but it would suck. So he makes them promise to never go on the hooks again. And while they are promising, a hook stabs Mr. Krabs in the butt, but he gets lucky and doesn't get him, and they leave. The next day, SpongeBob wakes up and gets ready to go to work, until Patrick tells him he's not going to work today because they're going to go play hooky, and he was lying about his promise yesterday. Now real quick, look how many hooks there are. Like, they're literally everywhere. So this brings me back to how everyone was acting like Mr. Krabs is stupid and crazy. Are you guys just genuinely blind? How do you not see the hooks? But anyway, SpongeBob stays strong and tells Patrick he's going to play with the hooks. So now he has to watch Patrick have so much fun. And he gets hit with the perfect peer pressure line.
You know you want to.
But he stops himself and starts walking to work until he sees a hook right in front of him. And bro does the fiend face and goes to touch the hook. But he stops himself before he does it and starts walking to work until he sees a hook right in front of him. And bro does the fiend face and goes to touch the hook. But he stops himself and starts walking to work until he sees a hook right in front of him. And bro does the fiend.
I ain't gonna lie. Y'all just seen the first ever live thumbnail.
Face and goes to touch the hook. But he stops himself before he does it and explains how Mr. Krabs told him how dangerous this was. And he walks away very disciplined, making fun of the hook. But he can't resist. And he runs right back to the hook, sits down, goes up, comes back down. But here's the thing. The hook got him. It finally got him. It stuck to his pants. Before we freak out about this though, tell me this isn't a reference to drugs. Like, you know this thing is bad for you. You have people telling you not to do it. You promise them you won't do it. And even though your brain is telling you no, you just can't resist. This hook is a drug, bro. But anyways, SpongeBob obviously starts really freaking out that he's gonna become tuna. So he runs to the Krusty Krab trying to get Mr. Krabs to help. But instead of just simply asking for help, he is embarrassed because he relapsed. So he kind of just comes around the corner acting all low-key.
You know those hooks? I wasn't playing on them. Not exactly. I mean, yes, I admit it. I was playing on the hooks.
And he starts crying. And he is so embarrassed that he played with the hook again. Bro, the hook is drugs. I rest my case. So he ends up coming out and showing Mr. Krabs the hook. And Mr. Krabs practically tells him the only thing he can do is take his pants off. And Pearl and all her friends come by laughing, staring and waiting to see SpongeBob in his tighty whities, which is pretty messed up. I'm sure Mr. Krabs could have chomped that hook clean off with his claws, but obviously SpongeBob does not want to strip in front of all these girls. It's embarrassing, and they are already even laughing. But he's left with no choice, and he takes his pants off. But this hook is attached to his underwear too. He now has to go full nude to save himself. So Mr. Krabs, being the great boss and friend he is, accepts that SpongeBob's about to die and puts a help wanted sign on the door. And this part's pretty scary. Our beloved SpongeBob might die to the hook, to this drug he could not beat. And I know this is a serious scene, but when SpongeBob sees the help wanted sign, this part is just hilarious. What? His face and the sound effect.
When I was watching this episode, I did not look at it that way. I swear, when you go back and watch some things, you're gonna be like, what? Really? That's what it means?
Thanks to a bed and breakfast on Booking.com, even Cardinals fans are loving Chicago.
Oh, no, just scoping out.
What if I told you that Mr. Krabs...
Busting to the Krusty Krab, scream.
Bear with me. Bear with me.
Stop and quit the hook. Boom. And the hook steals his underwear, and the Krusty Krab sign sends him bare naked straight onto the clear window door of the Krusty Krab for everyone to see.
Look at SpongeBob nudie pants.
And turns out this hook was Squidward the entire time.
I swear,
wait,
she was a
what?
Big,
how? So Mr.
Bell.
Krabs set up this entire thing just to teach SpongeBob a lesson. First off, that means Mr. Krabs purposely invited his daughter and all her friends to completely embarrass SpongeBob, knowing for a fact he'd have to go butt naked. Kind of messed up, I'm not gonna lie. The biggest question though is how in the world Squidward did this. So where was Squidward to be able to do this? He would have had to be at the surface or somewhere really high to pull off this hook trick. I mean, it was pointing straight up, but then also he's at the Krusty Krab at the end with the rod. This is really hurting my brain. If he's at the Krusty Krab, wouldn't the position of the rod be the opposite way?
You can't really put things together when you watching SpongeBob. You can't really put this and that together because it's a cartoon, bro. It's not. You can't really just be doing all like he's all the way at the Krusty Krab, and like you can't really.
Now look, I don't usually take defeat when overthinking, but this is definitely one of those it's a cartoon moment. And to be honest, as messed up as it is that Mr. Krabs invited his daughter to see SpongeBob nude, he did teach him a valuable lesson. But sadly, he couldn't teach Patrick this lesson because homeboy became some tuna in the end and somehow ended up getting shipped back to the Bikini Bottom in front of his house. I don't know how, but at least he's not cooked or killed, so that's good. I'm so glad they decided to make this episode. It just seems like an episode that needed to be made, and they executed it perfectly. First off, it makes Bikini Bottom feel like a real place, and I love that. As a kid watching this, I felt like real people were trying to steal my boy SpongeBob. I also think the way SpongeBob and Patrick reacted to the hooks was hilarious and really captures the way fish probably see hooks. It's just this colorful, free food thing. You can't hurt nobody. I think too, from an adult perspective, it somehow gives a great insight into addiction and how bad peer pressuring can be, which is crazy. I would have never guessed this episode had that lesson in it from watching as a kid. I just remember being scared the whole time, thinking that they were gonna die. I mean, before we found out that Squidward was the one holding the rod, it seemed like SpongeBob was about to have a free ticket to a gift shop. But anyways, I seriously love this episode. It's just for some reason one of those episodes that really engraved itself in my head and also just fits perfectly into the SpongeBob universe. This episode had to be made, and I'm glad it was. But yeah, that's me talking about SpongeBob, talking about...
Yeah, that's my reaction to this. If y'all want to see more of this, let me know in the description below. Man, I like SpongeBob. I love SpongeBob, bro. That's my favorite show. We should all put in.
Let go, total let go.